Let me describe a moment you have probably already lived through. You build a KNIME workflow. It works, you are happy. And then a week later, you need that same piece of logic again. The same cleaning steps, the same lookup, the same calculation, just in a different workflow. So what do? You copy it. You paste it, done. And the week after that, you do it again. And again, and again. And it feels efficient, right up until the day the logic has to change. Now that same chunk is living in 5 different workflows. You have to hunt down every single copy and fix it. And I promise you, sooner or later, you will miss one. Or the other thing happens. You never split it out at all and your one workflow keeps growing and growing. Until this one giant tangle of 100 or more nodes that you are honestly afraid to touch. Here is the good news. Programmers ran into this exact wall decades ago and they solved it. The solution has a name. It is a rock-solid principle. And today I'm going to show you how to bring it to KNIME with just a few notes. Let us fix your copy and paste habit for good. Principle. It's called modularization. And the idea is almost embarrassingly simple. Instead of building the same logic over and over, you build it once in its self-contained box. And then you just call the box whenever you need it. Programmers do this constantly. They call it functions or modules. And the whole software world runs on it. And it's not just about saving a bit of typing. It buys you 3 things that genuinely matter. Number 1, reuse. You build it once and you use it in as many places as you like. Number 2, and this is the big one, maintainability. When something has to change, you change it in exactly one place. And every workflow that uses it updates automatically. No hunting, no missed copies, no nasty surprises 3 weeks later. And number 3, readability. Your workflows stay small and clean because the messy detail is tucked away inside its own box. Instead of staring at hundreds of nodes, you look at one node that clearly says what it does. Reuse it once, fix it in one place, keep it readable. Hold on to these 3. They are the whole reason why we are doing this. One caveat before we build though. All of this only pays off if you stay disciplined about labeling. My number 1 KNIME rule, always label your nodes, matters even more here. Hide messy logic inside a box, fail to label it, and the clutter is not gone. It's just scattered. Don't trade a single pile for a messy map. That surprises people. You do not need to be a programmer to get any of this. KNIME gives it to you in low code, right out of the box with the call workflow service node. The idea maps perfectly. You take that chunk of logic that you want to reuse and build it or export it into its own little workflow. Again, think of it as a reusable box. Give that box a clearly defined input so that it knows what data to expect, and a clearly defined output so it knows what data to hand back. And then in any other workflow, instead of rebuilding that logic over and over again, you simply drop a call workflow service node. Point it at your box and it runs it all for you and passes the results straight back. One node doing the work of 10. Let me show you exactly how to build it, start to finish. On. Let me build the reusable box one node at a time. Quick heads up, the nodes that make this workflow callable live in an extension called KNIME Personal Productivity Tools. So if you don't have that, go to the KNIME Community Hub and install it for free. So I start pulling in the messy data in my case using an Excel reader. You can see probably some of the problems we have. We have volumes as text. We have different names for categories, different names for countries, etc. So building a somewhat decent automated report from that will be quite difficult. Next to it sits a workflow input node. This is the important one. It's the front door into that box. When my main workflow calls this sub-workflow or this module, data comes in exactly here, through that door. And a neat bonus, if nothing is handed in, it falls back to this Excel reader as a default. So the box also runs perfectly on its own. Now the cleaning line. First, a string to date and time node, which just simply converts the invoice date to a regular KNIME date. Then a string to number that converts the amount column into a float number, which you can see here. Next, the country fix, a value lookup node that checks each of the messy countries and compares it to a mapping table which contains the correct ISO code here in the right hand column, and then just replaces the messy code with it. Same principle applies to the categories. We have a mapping table and again a value lookup node that corrects any of the messy categories we had before. Let's just have a quick look into those value lookup nodes. What you can see here is my lookup column, that is category. I compare it to the input category in my example. Here I set the lookup column output to replace, and I don't want any of the columns from the table creator to be in here because I said replace. So replace basically the category column with whatever you find in the corrected category column. And this ensures I don't need any additional column filter nodes at the end. And here is a part I really want you to steal. A row splitter. Some rows are missing an amount or a category here. And this is a finance report. So I'm not going to invent or calculate those numbers. So the splitter sends the clean rows the one way and the error ones the second way. Finally, two workflow output nodes, two doors out of the box. And I give them speaking names. The first one is called output standard report, and the second one is called output errors. Second one is for the problem rows. The first one is just for our standard cleaned report file. It's important that you deal with these separately instead of making up values and poisoning your totals. Last step, we just save this as our very own workflow. I call this data cleaning, and it is stored here in this subfolder 02 data transformation. And that is the reusable box I've been talking about. Finished without one single line of code. Have a quick look at how this is all organized. First, my two main workflows, the callers, are called in a folder called 01 main workflow callers. So let's just jump in here and we're going to have a look at these two dashboard and monthly report in a second. Second, the one cleaning data workflow lives here in this little box called data transformation, and we could have more sub workflows in here, and it's called data cleaning. That's actually the workflow you're looking at right now. Now, let us actually use it. Let's open a completely new workflow. Let's say monthly report. The old you would just copy paste the whole cleaning cluster in here. Instead, right after the Excel reader node that reads in our source data, we have added a call workflow service node. So let's just have a look how this looks. Open it and point it at the data cleaning workflow you just saved. You can see it here. It says relative to the current workflow. And then I just point it to that workflow. And watch, its input and output ports appear automatically. So let's just switch these. We want to have the standard report on output port 1 and the errors on output port 2. So they carry also the speaking name that we gave them. So let's just click OK. The raw file is wired into it. Let's hit execute and see what it gives us. It gives us basically two output ports, the first one containing our clean data, and the second one containing our misbehaving rows. Next, we do a very standard thing. We have a group by node here where we just group by the category and aggregate the amount, the sum of the amount, and then we just write it into an Excel file that again lives here in the data output folder. Very standard KNIME task. Now to actually prove to you the reuse, and that is the whole point of this video, we do the very same thing in a second workflow. Let's just open, say, a workflow that is called dashboard. We have again a call workflow service node here outputting pretty much the same data. It's pointing at the same data cleaning box. And then we once again have a summary of the amount per category, but this time we just want to display it as a visual, as a bar chart, as you can see here. Same data cleaning steps, different output. But they're both sharing the same data cleaning logic from our sub workflow. That is actually reuse you can see. That genuinely saves you is this one. Take that country column we just cleaned. You build a small mapping table which basically cleans all of these DE, Germany or DEU into one tidy ISO formatted D. Now fast forward a month. A new file lands with a spelling you have never seen. Someone just typed Bundesrepublik Deutschland, for example. Let me just mimic this. Bundesrepublik Deutschland. In the old copy-paste world, that is a landmine. You would have to open every workflow, find every copy of the cleaning, and add that one spelling to each. And the one you probably oversee will become a silent bug at month end. Watch what happens now. I change it in one place, adding a new rule, so to say, here, and that's it. Just save the workflow. Every workflow that calls this data cleaning sub workflow automatically now learns the new spelling, and I touched none of them. And here is the quiet magic. That table only ever grows. You never rebuild it from scratch. You keep enriching it in one place. Everything you have built upon that gets smarter for free. That is the whole point of modularization. And now you have it in KNIME as well. The oldest trick in programming brought to you in low-code KNIME. Build your logic once, tuck it into a reusable box, call it whenever you need it, and crucially, label everything so your clean map stays clean. Your workflows get smaller, your changes happen in one place, and you never copy-paste that cluster again. Now, I'm genuinely curious. Which part of your own workflows would you turn into a reusable service first? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. And if this saved you a current or future headache, just subscribe. I do one of these every week. See you in the next one.